Welcome, dear friends, to a gentle journey through 120 fascinating facts about Tokyo Ghoul, the hauntingly beautiful tale of ghouls, humans, and the delicate line between them. From the dark alleys of Tokyo to the depths of the human soul, this world has captivated hearts with its tragic characters, its delicate exploration of identity, and its deep philosophical questions about what it means to be truly alive. Tonight, we'll drift through the origins of the story, the powerful transformations of its characters, and the ever present tension between humanity and monstrosity. In this quiet space, we'll weave through the intricate world of Tokyo Ghoul, letting the whispers of the story bring us closer to rest, just as the night wraps us in its embrace. Take a deep breath now, dear listener. Feel the weight of the day fall away with each slow exhale. Let your body find its quiet place, your mind ease into stillness. With every breath, sink deeper into this moment of peace. Feel the warmth of the night, the soft hum of the world outside, and let it guide you into a calm state of rest. And if you enjoy drifting through stories like this, you're welcome to subscribe and softly tell me where you're listening from tonight. Now, let's begin our journey together into the world of Tokyo Ghoul. Fact 1. The world of Tokyo Ghoul is set in a Tokyo that at first glance looks like our own, but beneath the surface, something dark brews. Ghouls, monstrous beings who feed on human flesh, hide in plain sight. They look just like ordinary humans, yet their true nature is something to be feared. The city is filled with secrets, and the boundary between the humans we know and the monsters that lurk in the shadows is thin, fragile. The series asks the timeless question, what happens when the monster inside us awakens? Fact 2. The protagonist, Ken Kaneki, starts as an ordinary college student with simple dreams. He enjoys reading at a cafe, spends time with his friends, and dreams of a peaceful future. But everything changes when he meets Rise, a seemingly sweet and charming girl with a dark secret. Rise is a ghoul, and her encounter with Kaneki sets the stage for the traumatic transformation that will alter his life forever. Kaneki's journey from human to half-ghoul is the heart of Tokyo Ghoul, a painful exploration of identity, survival, and the blurred lines between monster and man. Fact 3. Kaneki's transformation is not a simple one. After an accident, Rise's organs are transplanted into Kaneki's body, turning him into a half-ghoul. This transformation is the beginning of his journey into a world he never wanted to be part of. As a half-ghoul, Kaneki must learn to navigate the brutal world of ghouls while holding onto his humanity. He faces immense pain, both physical and emotional, as he struggles with his new identity. The process of becoming something other than human, yet not fully embracing the monster within, is central to Kaneki's internal conflict. Fact 4. The CCG, Commission of Counter Ghoul, is a government organization dedicated to hunting down and eradicating ghouls. They are the faceless enemies to ghouls, often shown as the law enforcing the division between humans and monsters. Their cold, calculated methods serve as a reminder of how society can dehumanize those it deems different. Throughout the series, the CCG's tactics and moral ambiguities are examined, forcing the viewer to question who the real monsters are. Their pursuit of ghouls reflects society's fear of the unknown and its attempts to control what it cannot understand. Fact 5. The concept of ghoulification plays a significant role in the Tokyo Ghoul universe. A ghoul's body is unique. Their organs regenerate faster than humans, and their abilities are enhanced in ways that defy logic. The ghoul's most distinctive feature is their kagune, a predatory organ that allows them to use their body as a weapon. The kagune is both beautiful and terrifying, a symbol of the ghoul's power and their primal instincts. It is an unsettling reminder that these creatures are part of something more ancient, more dangerous than human nature can comprehend. Fact 6. One of the most haunting aspects of Tokyo Ghoul is its exploration of identity. Kaneki's struggle with who he is, a half human, half ghoul, is a central theme. As he tries to fit into both worlds, he finds himself torn between the human side that craves peace and the ghoul side that seeks survival through violence. This internal battle grows more intense as the story progresses, highlighting the complexity of personal identity. Kaneki's journey is about more than survival. It's about reconciling the two halves of himself and finding a place to belong in a world that sees him as a monster. Fact 7. The Ghoul world is filled with complex characters, each with their own backstory and motivations. Some, like Toka Kirishima, are driven by revenge, while others, like Yoshimura, seek redemption. These characters are not simply villains or heroes, they are deeply human, with desires, fears, and regrets. The series avoids simple moral judgments, instead showing the messy, complicated lives of those caught between the worlds of ghouls and humans. Every character's journey reflects the struggle for self acceptance and the search for meaning in a chaotic, divided world. Fact 8. A major turning point in Tokyo Ghoul occurs when Kaneki is forced to confront his deepest fears. After a brutal battle, he is captured and tortured by the sadistic ghoul, Jason. This experience breaks him physically and mentally, leaving him in a fragile state. However, this moment also marks a significant shift in Kaneki's character. He embraces his ghoul side, accepting the darker aspects of himself in a desperate attempt to survive. This moment is crucial in shaping Kaneki's evolution from a victim to someone who can control his own fate, even if it means losing a part of his humanity. Fact 9. The symbolism in Tokyo Ghoul is rich and multifaceted. One of the most prominent symbols is the mask, which represents the divide between Kaneki's human and ghoul sides. At first, Kaneki wears a simple mask to conceal his ghoul identity from others, but as he grows more comfortable with his new self, the mask becomes a reflection of his inner turmoil. The mask is a tool of survival, but it is also a symbol of the emotional distance Kaneki creates between himself and the world around him. It is both protective and isolating, much like the identity Kaneki forms throughout his journey. Fact 10. Tokyo Ghoul delves into the nature of violence, not just as an external force, but as an internal one. Kaneki's internal battle is mirrored by the external conflicts he faces with other ghouls and humans. The series doesn't shy away from showing the harsh realities of the world it presents. Violence is often portrayed as a means of survival, a way of asserting power in a world where the strong dominate the weak. However, the emotional toll of violence on Kaneki is explored in depth, revealing the psychological scars it leaves behind. His journey is one of finding peace in a world that constantly demands bloodshed. Fact 11. The theme of masks in Tokyo Ghoul is further explored through the various characters who wear them. For some, the mask is an essential tool for survival, a way to hide their true selves from both the human world and the ghoul world. For others, The mask symbolizes the duality they carry within them, human and monster, light and dark. Kaneki's evolution with his mask is a poignant journey, from the simple disguise he first wears to the intricate, often disturbing masks he adopts later. These masks are not just physical objects, but emotional barriers that hide the pain of identity conflict. Fact 12. One of the most powerful relationships in Tokyo Ghoul is between Kaneki and Toka Kirishima. Toka is a fierce and independent ghoul, and though she initially sees Kaneki as weak, their bond deepens over time. Both characters share the painful burden of being caught between the world of humans and the world of ghouls. Their relationship is filled with moments of tension, but also profound tenderness. As Kaneki's journey continues, Tuka becomes a crucial part of his emotional and psychological transformation, reminding him of the things worth protecting in a world so full of destruction and pain. Fact 13. Rise Kamishiro, the ghoul who inadvertently caused Kaneki's transformation, is a central figure in the story, though her presence is felt most strongly in the early stages of the series. Raz's role as Kaneka's awakening is tragic. She is the catalyst for his transformation, yet she is also a symbol of the monstrous side that Kaneki must now embrace. Despite her actions, Rise is not entirely a villain. She represents the darker desires that reside within all of us, forcing Kaneki to confront his own nature in ways that he never imagined possible. Fact 14. The ghoulification process is not only a physical transformation, but a mental one. Ghouls must constantly fight against the urges to feed on humans, even though their bodies crave it. This internal struggle is a key part of the story, as ghouls who try to suppress their hunger face psychological deterioration. The pain of not being able to control these instincts is portrayed through Kaneki's own journey, highlighting the toll that constant self control takes on a being's mind. This constant tension between nature and nurture forms the heart of Tokyo Ghoul's exploration of identity. Fact 15. The story's villain, the enigmatic Ahogiri tree, is a terrifying force in the ghoul world. Unlike the more organized and government sanctioned ghouls, Ahogiri tree seeks to upend the fragile balance between humans and ghouls, driving its members to act with reckless abandon. The group is ruthless, ambitious, and dangerous, and their influence spreads like wildfire across the Tokyo ghoul world. Their goal is not just survival, but domination, creating chaos and destruction in their wake. They represent the threat of unchecked power, highlighting the darker aspects of what it means to be a ghoul in a world that refuses to accept you. Fact 16. Kaneki's transformation also mirrors the evolution of his psychological state. As he battles with his ghoul side, he loses his sense of self and falls deeper into despair. The pain of his internal conflict is heightened by the trauma he experiences at the hands of others. Over time, Kaneki grows more distant from the human world, torn between his desire to retain his humanity and the ghoul nature that pushes him toward violence. This gradual loss of innocence becomes a powerful commentary on the fragility of the human mind and the overwhelming power of trauma. Fact 17. The world building in Tokyo Ghoul is rich and immersive, with each new location offering a unique perspective on the ghoul human divide. From the dark streets of the 20th Ward to the mysterious Anteiku Cafe, where ghouls live in relative peace, the settings play an important role in shaping the tone of the story. Anteiku, in particular, represents a rare sanctuary for ghouls, a place where they can seek refuge from the world outside. It serves as a bittersweet symbol of what ghouls yearn for, a place where they can live without fear, a place to call home amidst the chaos. Fact 18. Another recurring theme in Tokyo Ghoul is the notion of family. For ghouls like Kaneki and Tuka, the concept of family is often fractured and complicated. The sense of belonging is elusive, and the bonds they form with each other are fragile yet deeply meaningful. As the story progresses, Kaneki's relationships with those around him become more important than ever. These bonds are tested time and time again, and the characters must grapple with the question of what it truly means to be a family in a world that seeks to tear them apart. Fact 19. In Tokyo Ghoul, the theme of survival is omnipresent. Each character faces life or death challenges, and each decision they make carries profound consequences. For ghouls, survival means constantly fighting against their own instincts and the violence that is often thrust upon them. For humans, survival often means facing the fear of the unknown and the monstrous threat that lurks in the shadows. The series explores what it means to live in a world where every breath is a battle and where each moment of peace is fleeting. Fact 20. The series explores the ethical dilemmas that come with being a half human, half ghoul creature. Kaneki's inner turmoil is a reflection of the moral complexities he faces as he navigates two opposing worlds. He is constantly forced to choose between the human side of him, which longs for peace, and the ghoul side of him, which demands violence. This ongoing struggle raises questions about morality and the cost of survival. The series asks whether it is possible to maintain one's humanity in the face of overwhelming darkness, and whether the desire for peace can ever truly outweigh the necessity of self preservation. Fact 21. One of the most fascinating elements of Tokyo Ghoul is its depiction of the psychological toll that living in such a divided world takes on its characters. Kaneki's journey, in particular, is one of extreme transformation. As he becomes more attuned to his ghoul side, he struggles with feelings of alienation and identity loss. The mental strain of living between two worlds is portrayed with raw emotion, showing how internal conflict can be as devastating as any external battle. Kaneki's experience serves as a powerful reminder of the fragility of the human psyche under constant pressure. Fact 22. Throughout Tokyo Ghoul, Kaneki's interactions with his friends from his human life play a pivotal role in his journey. His close bond with Hyde, his childhood friend, is one of the few connections Kaneki holds onto as his world unravels. Hyde's mysterious nature and his role in the series become increasingly complex as the story progresses. The friendship between Kaneki and Hyde serves as both a comfort and a source of tension as Kaneki grapples with the trust he places in others and the doubts that cloud his ability to understand who is truly on his side. Fact 23. The One-Eyed King is a mysterious figure in the ghoul world, revered by some and feared by others. This figure is said to possess immense power and the ability to change the fate of the ghouls. The One-Eyed King's identity becomes a significant mystery that drives much of the political intrigue within the ghoul factions. The concept of a leader who could potentially unite the ghouls represents both hope and fear. It forces the characters to confront their beliefs about power, leadership, and the future of their world, adding depth to the ongoing struggle between survival and revolution. Fact 24. In the world of Tokyo Ghoul, the concept of evolution is not just a physical process, but a philosophical one. Ghouls evolve to adapt to their environment, developing stronger kaguni and more advanced combat abilities in order to survive. Kaneki's evolution is not only about his physical transformation, but also about the shifts in his perspective on life and death. The evolution of his character from a timid college student to a powerful figure in the ghoul world mirrors the harsh realities of survival. In a world where only the strong survive, Kaneki's evolution becomes an essential part of his fight for identity. Fact 25. The portrayal of the relationship between humans and ghouls in Tokyo Ghoul is a complex commentary on prejudice, fear, and acceptance. Ghouls are often viewed as monsters by humans, who see them only as creatures to be hunted. However, the series delves into the lives of the ghouls, showing that many are just as vulnerable, just as afraid, and just as capable of love and sorrow as humans. This duality, seeing both sides of the conflict, forces the viewer to reconsider what it means to be a monster and whether the real monstrosity lies in the fear and hatred people project onto the unknown. Fact 26. Kaneki's evolution as a fighter is not just about mastering his ghoul abilities, but also about learning to control his emotions and fears. Early in the series, Kaneki is overwhelmed by his transformation and the violence that accompanies it. However, over time, he learns that true strength lies not in raw power, but in the ability to protect others without losing oneself in the process. This emotional growth is as significant as any physical transformation. The series highlights that the journey to strength is often one of emotional endurance and self discovery, not just the ability to fight. Fact 27. The series often explores the theme of loss, not just of life, but of identity. As Kaneki embraces his new ghoul nature, he loses parts of himself along the way. His connection to his human life, his memories, and his sense of self slowly slip away as he becomes more immersed in the world of ghouls. This loss is devastating, and it becomes clear that the more Kaneki lets go of his past, the more detached he becomes from the person he once was. Tokyo Ghoul poignantly examines how the act of surviving can sometimes come at the expense of everything that once defined us. Fact 28. The depiction of death in Tokyo Ghoul is unflinching and raw. Characters face death constantly, and the act of killing is often portrayed not as an act of revenge, but as a brutal necessity. The emotional weight of each death is felt deeply, especially as the characters become entangled in their own moral dilemmas. Death is never glorified. Instead, it serves as a reminder of the fragile, temporary nature of life. This stark portrayal of mortality adds a layer of existential reflection to the series, forcing both the characters and the audience to confront the inevitability of death. Fact 29. The character of Yoshimura, the kind-hearted ghoul who runs Anteiku, is a tragic figure whose past is filled with pain and loss. Yoshimura's life serves as a powerful counterpoint to Kaneki's own journey, showing that the struggle for survival can sometimes lead to the loss of everything that makes life worth living. His quiet strength and dedication to helping others reflect a deeper understanding of what it means to live in a world where survival often comes at the cost of one's soul. Yoshimura's role as a mentor to Kaneki and others emphasizes the importance of empathy even in the darkest times. Fact 30. The ghoul world is structured like a complex web with various factions and individuals vying for power, dominance, and survival. These factions, such as the Iogiri Tree and the CCG, represent opposing forces in a war that seems never ending. However, beneath the surface of these groups is a shared desire to find meaning in a world that offers little. The series often blurs the lines between what is right and wrong, showing that everyone in the world of Tokyo Ghoul has their own reasons for the choices they make. The ultimate question remains: in a world where everyone is fighting for survival, who truly deserves to win? Fact 31. The symbolism of darkness is a recurring theme in Tokyo Ghoul, and it's often portrayed as both a literal and metaphorical presence. Kaneki's internal struggles often take place in the depths of his mind, where he is engulfed by darkness. This darkness represents his fears, his anger, and the monstrous side that he desperately tries to suppress. The visual and emotional representation of this darkness acts as a reminder that the journey of self discovery is often fraught with confusion and despair. It is only through confronting this inner darkness that Kaneki can begin to understand who he truly is. Fact 32. Kaneki's relationship with his ghoul side deepens as the series progresses, and this bond is highlighted by the conflict between his human emotions and the ghoul instincts that surge within him. At times, Kaneki seems to become more like a ghoul than a human, particularly when he is pushed to the edge of his limits. Yet he continues to cling to the human side of himself, determined to hold on to his humanity even as his body and mind change. This internal struggle between man and monster drives much of the series' emotional depth, making Kaneki's transformation all the more poignant. Fact 33. The presence of masks in Tokyo Ghoul is more than just a physical disguise. It represents the character's need to hide their true selves. Kaneki's mask is perhaps the most iconic, but other characters also use masks to conceal their identities. The idea of hiding behind a mask speaks to the central theme of Tokyo Ghoul, the desire to protect oneself from the world and from one's own darkest instincts. Thus, masks symbolize the layers of secrecy that characters create in order to survive in a world that punishes vulnerability. Fact 34. As the story unfolds, the concept of friendship becomes increasingly important. Kaneki's relationships with the people he encounters are essential to his emotional growth. His bond with Hyde, for example, is one of the most complex in the series. Hyde's true motivations are shrouded in mystery, making him a figure of both trust and doubt. This ambiguity challenges Kaneki's ability to trust others and forces him to question what it means to have a true friend. Throughout the series, the dynamics of friendship, trust, betrayal, and loyalty are explored in ways that add layers to the character development. Fact 35. The tragic nature of Tokyo Ghoul is encapsulated in the loss of innocence. Kaneki's early life, before his transformation into a half-ghoul, is marked by simplicity and a sense of safety. However, once his world is turned upside down, the journey becomes one of survival and emotional pain. The loss of his former life is not just a physical transformation, but an emotional one, as he faces the harsh realities of living in a world that sees him as neither fully human nor fully ghoul. This loss of innocence, however, drives Kaneki to seek meaning and purpose in the chaos that surrounds him. Fact 36. Tokyo Ghoul explores the idea of identity from multiple perspectives. Kaneki's struggle with his dual nature is the most prominent. But other characters also grapple with their own sense of self. For some, their identities are shaped by their past experiences, while for others, identity is a malleable construct, something that evolves over time. The series examines how identities are formed, challenged, and ultimately redefined in a world that forces its inhabitants to adapt or perish. This existential exploration of identity is central to the emotional weight of the story. Fact 37. The role of family is a theme that runs deeply throughout Tokyo Ghoul. For Kaneki, family is something that shifts as the series progresses. He starts with his human family, which is lost to him, and then moves to find a new kind of family within the world of ghouls. Anteku, the cafe where ghouls live in relative peace, becomes his new home, a place where he finds a surrogate family in people who understand his pain. These relationships are fraught with conflict, but they are also filled with love and a desire to protect one another, showing that even in the darkest of worlds, the need for belonging is universal. Fact 38. The concept of bonds is also explored in Tokyo Ghoul, as the series delves into how characters form connections in a world rife with danger. These bonds are often fragile, tested by betrayal, trauma, and the constant threat of violence. However, despite these challenges, the desire to connect with others remains a driving force for many characters. Kaneki, in particular, finds himself forming deep bonds with those he meets along his journey. These relationships, whether they are with humans or ghouls, become the emotional core of the series, offering moments of comfort and hope amid the darkness. Fact 39. The CCG, a governmental organization devoted to eradicating ghouls, plays a key role in the series, often serving as the face of authority and the enemy. However, as the series progresses, the CCG's members are shown to be more complex than initially perceived. Characters like Kisho Arama, who is initially presented as the ultimate hunter of ghouls, are revealed to have their own struggles and motivations. This deeper exploration of the Soseiji highlights the series' focus on moral ambiguity, showing that the line between good and evil is not always as clear as it may seem. Fact 40. The theme of survival is at the heart of Tokyo Ghoul, and it is explored in multiple ways. For ghouls, survival often means violence and the constant threat of death. For humans, survival means navigating a world filled with unseen dangers, where the monsters are not always the ones that can be seen. Kaneki's journey is one of survival, but it is also about finding meaning in the struggle to live. The series constantly asks the question, what are we willing to sacrifice to survive, and what happens when survival itself becomes a meaningless goal? Fact 41. The aesthetic of Tokyo Ghoul is deeply tied to its themes of duality and transformation. The series juxtaposes the beauty of Tokyo's vibrant cityscape with the brutality of the ghoul world, creating a striking contrast. This visual representation of light versus darkness reflects the character's internal struggles. Kaneki's transformation from a gentle human to a half ghoul is mirrored in the stark contrast between his former peaceful life and the chaotic violence he must now face. The show's visual symbolism acts as a reminder that beauty and monstrosity often coexist in the same space, often in unexpected ways. Fact 42. As Kaneki's journey unfolds, he encounters the complex philosophy of the ghoul world, which is filled with factions, ideologies, and power struggles. One of the key groups, the Aogiri Tree, challenges the established order by seeking to overthrow the human world and create a new hierarchy. Their radical approach to survival questions the ethics of survival itself. The clash between ghouls seeking peaceful coexistence and those seeking to dominate highlights the deeper existential questions the series grapples with. Is survival enough, or is there a greater purpose to our existence? Fact 43. A major theme in Tokyo Ghoul is the concept of humanity. The ghouls in the story are often portrayed as monsters by humans, but as we see through Kaneki's eyes, their experiences and emotions are just as complex as any humans. The series invites us to question what truly defines humanity. Is it the ability to feel compassion, or the need to survive, or perhaps the act of forming connections with others? The ghouls' struggles to balance their monstrous nature with their lingering humanity create poignant moments of reflection throughout the series. Fact 44. Kaniki's inner conflict grows as he is drawn into the world of ghoul politics and warfare. The notion of fighting for survival becomes a central theme as characters are forced to choose between their morals and the brutal realities of their world. Kaneki, in particular, struggles with the consequences of his actions, often questioning whether his choices are truly his own or dictated by the circumstances surrounding him. This moral dilemma is central to his growth as a character and serves as a reflection of the broader theme of self determination versus fate in Tokyo Ghoul. Fact 45. The idea of sacrifice permeates Tokyo Ghoul as characters are faced with difficult choices that involve giving up parts of themselves for the greater good or survival. Kaneki, in particular, finds himself sacrificing his own peace and innocence as he becomes a more powerful figure in the ghoul world. The series shows that survival is not just about staying alive, it is about the emotional and psychological cost of that survival. Characters who survive are often scarred, both physically and emotionally, and the price of that survival is explored with great depth. Fact 46. The introduction of the ghoul investigator, Kisho Arama, adds complexity to the moral landscape of the series. Arama is a highly skilled CCG investigator, known for his near-perfect record in hunting down ghouls. However, as the story progresses, Arima's character is revealed to be more than just a cold-hearted hunter. His backstory, motivations, and interactions with other characters complicate the viewer's perception of right and wrong. Arima's character challenges the viewer to reconsider the nature of justice and whether the lines between good and evil are always so clear. Fact 47. The emotional depth of Tokyo Ghoul is further exemplified through its portrayal of loss. Every character in the series suffers loss, whether it's the loss of family, identity, or loved ones. Kaneki's journey is deeply shaped by the loss of his human life, and the trauma he endures shapes the person he becomes. This constant theme of loss serves as a reminder of the fragile nature of existence. In a world where survival is constantly at odds with personal growth, loss is an inevitable part of the character's evolution, making it all the more poignant. Fact 48. The concept of power is another central theme in Tokyo Ghoul, but it is depicted in an unconventional way. Power is not just about physical strength or dominance over others. It is also about emotional resilience, the ability to withstand trauma, and the courage to make difficult decisions. Kaneki's transformation into a half ghoul gives him immense power, but this power also comes with the cost of his humanity. The series explores how power can be both a burden and a necessity, and how the true strength of a character often lies in their capacity to endure hardship. Fact 49. Throughout the series, Kaneki's journey is marked by his shifting perception of self worth. Early in the story, he sees himself as weak, someone who must be protected by others. However, as the events unfold, Kaneki comes to understand that true strength does not lie in physical power alone. His growth is marked by a shift in his self awareness as he learns to accept both his human and ghoul sides. This journey of self acceptance is crucial to Kaneki's transformation, making him one of the most complex and dynamic protagonists in anime. Fact 50. Tokyo Ghoul also touches on the concept of revenge, with many characters motivated by a desire for retribution. Kaneki, after experiencing immense personal loss, is driven by a need to avenge those who have wronged him and the people he cares about. However, the series also examines the cost of revenge, how it can consume a person and lead them down a path of destruction. Kaneki's internal battle with his desire for vengeance is emblematic of the show's broader exploration of the destructive power of hatred and the importance of finding peace amidst the chaos. Fact 51. In Tokyo Ghoul, the concept of transformation is deeply woven into the fabric of the story. Kaneki's evolution from a helpless college student into a powerful figure within the ghoul world is symbolic of the larger theme of self-discovery. The transformation is not just physical, but psychological as well, as Kaneki learns to adapt to the monstrous side of his nature. This process of becoming something other than what he was is central to the series, and it highlights the idea that true transformation often requires a person to embrace parts of themselves they would rather deny. Fact 52. The battle between humanity and monstrosity is a core conflict in Tokyo Ghoul, and it is explored through the character's internal struggles. Kaneki's half-ghoul nature makes him question where his true allegiances lie. Is he human, or is he something else? Throughout the series, Kaneki is faced with questions about what it means to be a monster and whether he can remain human despite his ghoul instincts. This theme resonates deeply with viewers as it speaks to the universal struggle of accepting oneself when faced with profound personal change. Fact 53. The theme of powerlessness is another poignant aspect of Tokyo Ghoul. Despite his extraordinary abilities, Kaneki often feels helpless in the face of overwhelming circumstances. This emotional vulnerability is a key part of his character, showing that true strength is not about physical power, but the ability to endure hardship and grow stronger through suffering. Kaneki's sense of powerlessness mirrors the experience of many other characters who, despite their abilities or positions of power, find themselves at the mercy of forces beyond their control. Fact 54. One of the most haunting aspects of Tokyo Ghoul is the exploration of what it means to be alive. Kaneki's transformation into a half-ghoul forces him to confront the nature of existence itself. The ghouls in the series are not merely monsters, they are beings struggling with their own desires, fears, and sense of purpose. The series raises profound questions about life and death, challenging viewers to reconsider what it means to live a meaningful life. Is it the ability to love, to fight for something greater, or simply to survive in a world that refuses to accept you? Fact 55. The relationships in Tokyo Ghoul are not always clear-cut, and they often evolve in unexpected ways. Kaneki's relationship with his mentor, Yoshimura, is one of the most emotionally complex in the series. Yoshimura, who once sought peace for his fellow ghouls, becomes a father figure to Kaneki. Their bond is built on mutual respect and the shared understanding of what it means to live as an outsider. As Kaneki struggles with his identity, Yoshimura's guidance becomes increasingly important, helping Kaneki navigate the dangerous and morally ambiguous world of ghouls. Fact 56. In Tokyo Ghoul, the notion of morality is fluid and often hard to define. The series explores the idea that morality is not absolute, but is shaped by circumstances, experiences, and survival. Ghouls, often viewed as monsters by humans, are shown to have their own moral codes and struggles. Similarly, humans, including those in the CCG, are not depicted as purely good. Instead, Tokyo Ghoul suggests that morality is a spectrum, and each character's actions are driven by complex motivations that are not easily understood. This ambiguity challenges the viewer to reconsider traditional notions of right and wrong. Fact 57. The imagery of eyes plays a significant symbolic role in Tokyo Ghoul. Kaneki's transformation into a half ghoul is marked by his changing eyes, which shift from a normal human appearance to the terrifying ghoul like eye that represents his new identity. Eyes in the series are often used to symbolize insight, awareness, and perception. Kaneki's eye color changes reflect his evolving understanding of himself and the world around him. This motif serves as a visual cue for the emotional and psychological changes he undergoes throughout his journey. Fact 58. The theme of survival is explored in depth through the harsh realities that ghouls face. Ghouls must feed on humans to survive, which sets them in direct conflict with human society. This survival instinct is something Kaneki must come to terms with as he navigates his new identity. However, Tokyo Ghoul also questions whether survival is truly enough. Can living simply to survive be considered a meaningful life? The series challenges its characters and its audience to reflect on the purpose of life itself. Survival becomes more than just a fight for food. It is a fight for a sense of belonging and purpose. Fact 59. The contrast between the human and ghoul worlds in Tokyo Ghoul is a key element of the series. The human world is often depicted as chaotic, violent, and corrupt, while the ghoul world, though dangerous and brutal, is portrayed as a reflection of the darker side of human nature. This contrast highlights the complexities of both worlds, forcing the characters to navigate their dual natures while questioning where they truly belong. Tokyo Ghoul suggests that neither world is entirely good or evil, but that both are deeply flawed and intertwined in ways that are difficult to escape. Fact 60. Kaneki's journey is one of self-acceptance, and this theme is explored throughout the series. As he struggles with his transformation, Kaneka initially rejects his ghoul nature, seeking to remain human despite the overwhelming odds. However, as the story progresses, Kaneki learns that accepting both parts of himself, his humanity and his ghoul side, is essential for his survival and growth. This acceptance is not about resignation, but about embracing the complexity of his identity and using it to navigate the world around him. Tokyo Ghoul teaches that true strength lies in accepting all aspects of oneself. Fact 61. The psychological torment that Kaneki experiences is one of the most heart-wrenching aspects of Tokyo Ghoul. After the torture he endures at the hands of Jason, Kaneki's psyche fractures. His internal world becomes a battleground between his old self, clinging to humanity, and the new ghoul side of him, seeking revenge and power. This split represents the extreme emotional cost of survival in a world so unforgiving. Kaneke's psychological journey is one of redefinition. Who is he after everything he has endured? His struggle to maintain his sense of self in the face of trauma is both painful and deeply relatable. Fact 62. The ghouls of Tokyo Ghoul are not simply monsters. They are beings with complex motivations, desires, and fears. Some ghouls, like Yoshimura, strive for peace, trying to find a place in a world that hunts them. Others, like the members of Aogiri Tree, are driven by power and chaos. These varying ideologies within the ghoul community highlight the theme that even in a world where survival is often brutal and unforgiving, there is room for different perspectives. The series challenges us to see the humanity in what we initially perceive as monstrosity. Fact 63. The role of memory in Tokyo Ghoul is significant, especially when it comes to Kaneki's transformation. As he loses pieces of his humanity, he also loses parts of his past, his memories of who he once was. This loss of memory serves as a metaphor for the emotional and psychological toll of the transformation. Kaneki's journey involves not just physical survival, but a process of rediscovering who he is in the face of constant change. His memories, like the man he used to be, are shattered and incomplete, adding an emotional weight to his quest for self understanding. Fact 64. The series explores the complex relationship between ghouls and humans, where the line between victim and perpetrator is often blurred. Humans see ghouls as killers, while ghouls see humans as a source of sustenance and survival. This tension creates a tragic cycle of violence and misunderstanding. In Tokyo Ghoul, no side is entirely innocent, and each character must grapple with the moral implications of their actions. The series forces the viewer to confront uncomfortable questions about the nature of good and evil and the ways in which society defines both. Fact 65. Kaneki's mask is not just a tool of concealment, it is a reflection of his fractured identity. The mask, which he initially wears to hide his ghoul side, becomes more than just a disguise. It becomes a symbol of his attempt to distance himself from both his human and ghoul identities. The different iterations of Kaneki's mask throughout the series reflect the various phases of his transformation. As he changes, so too does his mask, becoming more intricate, more symbolic of the internal battles he faces. The mask represents the layers of self he hides behind. Fact 66. The CCG's pursuit of ghouls is presented as an ongoing, systematic effort to eliminate what they deem to be the enemy. However, as the series progresses, it becomes clear that the CCG's actions are not purely black and white. Members of the Serenity, like Arima, are portrayed as morally complex characters who have their own struggles and motivations. This adds layers to the series' exploration of authority and the justification for violence. The CCG's desire to eradicate ghouls reflects society's fear of the unknown, but it also forces us to question the ethics behind such sweeping actions. Fact 67. The concept of pain is central to Kaneki's character development. Early in the series, Kaneka is a fragile, gentle soul trying to find his place in the world. But after his transformation and the brutal tortures he faces, he learns that pain is an inescapable part of life. His journey is one of resilience, as he learns to bear the weight of his physical and emotional suffering. The series doesn't shy away from depicting the intensity of pain, whether physical, emotional, or psychological. Kaneki's strength ultimately comes from his ability to endure pain, not just survive it, but transform through it. Fact 68. The character of Toka Kirishima undergoes a significant transformation throughout Tokyo Ghoul. Initially, she is depicted as a fierce and almost antagonistic character, but as the story progresses, her layers are peeled back to reveal a woman deeply affected by her experiences. Like Kaneki, Toka struggles with the divide between her ghoul nature and her desire to hold on to her humanity. Her relationship with Kaneki is one of the emotional anchors of the series, and her personal journey reflects the series' themes of growth, forgiveness, and self acceptance. Fact 69. The world of Tokyo Ghoul is built on a foundation of secrecy and deception. From the hidden existence of ghouls to the covert operations of the CCG, the series constantly explores the idea that much of the world around us is not as it seems. Kaneki's initial ignorance of the ghoul world represents the way in which individuals often live in ignorance of the larger, darker forces shaping their lives. This theme of hidden truths and the gradual unveiling of secrets is a key element that keeps the narrative suspenseful and emotionally gripping. Fact 70. One of the more unsettling aspects of Tokyo Ghoul is its portrayal of identity loss. As characters undergo physical and psychological transformations, they often lose parts of themselves. Kaneki's loss of his humanity is the most obvious example, but it extends to other characters as well. The process of becoming a ghoul, or of facing life in a world that doesn't accept you, forces individuals to confront the erosion of their sense of self. This loss of identity is portrayed as both inevitable and tragic, raising questions about how much of ourselves we are willing to sacrifice to survive. Fact 71. The concept of family in Tokyo Ghoul extends beyond bloodlines, touching on the relationships characters form through shared experiences. For Kaneki, his sense of family evolves as he forms bonds with other ghouls at Anteku who become his surrogate family. This makeshift family is rooted in compassion, understanding, and the shared struggle to survive in a world that devalues their existence. The theme of family is explored in various ways, from the familial bonds within the ghoul community to the relationships Kaneki builds with other outcasts, showing that true family is about connection and loyalty, not just lineage. Fact 72. Kaneki's journey is marked by his struggle to understand his own nature. As a half human, half ghoul, he exists in a liminal space between two worlds, never fully belonging to either. His internal conflict, struggling with his dual identity, becomes a central theme of Tokyo Ghoul. Kaneki's desire to remain human is constantly tested by his ghoul instincts, and the tension between these two halves of his identity shapes his character. His journey is not just one of survival, but of self discovery as he grapples with the question of who he really is in a world that sees him as both monster and man. Fact 73. The series delves into the idea of sacrifice, where characters are often forced to make difficult choices for the greater good. Kaneki, in particular, faces several situations where he must sacrifice parts of himself, whether it's his emotional stability, his humanity, or his relationships with others, in order to survive. This theme of sacrifice extends to the other characters as well, especially those who have fought long battles for their beliefs or for the survival of their kind. These sacrifices are often painful and come with no guarantee of reward, underscoring the harsh realities of the world Tokyo Ghoul portrays. Fact 74. The idea of existential despair permeates Tokyo Ghoul as characters struggle to find meaning in a world where survival often feels like the only goal. Kaneki's struggle is particularly poignant as he contemplates whether his life has any greater purpose beyond simply existing. This theme of existential questioning is woven throughout the series, particularly in moments of crisis when characters confront their own sense of worth. Tokyo Ghoul asks whether it is enough to simply survive, or if there must be something deeper that gives life meaning, a question that is left to linger in the minds of viewers. Fact 75. The portrayal of violence in Tokyo Ghoul is unflinching, highlighting the brutality of both ghouls and humans. While violence is often a means of survival in the ghoul world, it also serves as a tool for emotional release, revenge, and power. Kaneki's evolution as a character is deeply tied to his relationship with violence. Initially reluctant to engage in it, he eventually embraces it as a means of protecting those he loves. However, the emotional toll of violence is evident throughout the series, as Kaneki and other characters grapple with the psychological consequences of their actions. Fact 76. One of the most intriguing aspects of Tokyo Ghoul is its exploration of revenge. Throughout the series, characters are motivated by a need for vengeance, particularly after suffering great personal losses. Kaneki, for instance, is driven by his desire to avenge his loved ones and his own transformation. However, the series also critiques the cyclical nature of revenge, showing how it can consume and perpetuate a cycle of violence that ultimately leads to more pain. Revenge, while a powerful motivator, is shown to be ultimately hollow, offering no real sense of closure or peace. Fact 77. The kagune, a ghoul's predatory organ, is one of the most unique and iconic features of Tokyo Ghoul. Each ghoul's kagune is a manifestation of their inner strength, and its form often reflects the personality and abilities of the ghoul. Kaneki's kagune, for example, is a symbol of his inner turmoil, capable of powerful attacks, but also reflecting his struggle to control his violent instincts. The kagune is not just a weapon, but a visual metaphor for the ghoul's emotional and psychological state, representing the constant conflict between their desire to survive and their need for control. Fact 78. The series often explores the idea of acceptance, particularly Kaneki's struggle to accept his new identity as a half ghoul. At first, Kaneki is in denial, trying to hold on to his old human life. However, as he faces the brutal realities of his new existence, he slowly begins to accept his dual nature. This acceptance is not immediate and comes with great pain and emotional cost. Kaneki's journey towards self-acceptance is one of the most significant themes in Tokyo Ghoul, showing that true strength comes not from denying one's nature, but from embracing it, flaws and all. Fact 79. Tokyo Ghoul places a heavy emphasis on identity and the constant struggle to define oneself in a world that constantly imposes labels. Kaneki's struggle is deeply tied to his inability to accept his new identity as a half ghoul. The series explores how identity is shaped not only by one's own choices, but by the external world's expectations and fears. Kaneki's journey is one of self-definition, where he must navigate the tension between his human side and his ghoul side while fighting to retain control over who he truly is. Fact 80. The tension between humanity and monstrosity is one of the central themes of Tokyo Ghoul. Kaneki's transformation forces him to confront the question, can a ghoul still retain their humanity? His struggle is a reflection of the larger conflict between ghouls and humans in the series, where the lines between right and wrong, good and evil, are blurred. Tokyo Ghoul explores how societal labels of monster are often subjective and shaped by fear. It suggests that the true monstrosity lies not in what we are, but in the way society treats those who are different. Fact 81. One of the most profound elements of Tokyo Ghoul is its exploration of belonging. Many characters, including Kaneki, struggle to find their place in a world that seems intent on rejecting them. As a half ghoul, Kaneki exists in a space between two worlds, never fully accepted by humans or ghouls. This longing for belonging is a universal theme, and Kaneki's search for acceptance drives much of his emotional journey. His experiences reflect the painful reality of what it feels like to be an outsider, and the series poignantly asks, can someone ever truly belong in a world so divided? Fact 82. The concept of identity crisis is central to Tokyo Ghoul, particularly for Kaneki, who constantly battles with his sense of self. His internal struggle to reconcile his human and ghoul natures is the catalyst for much of the series' emotional depth. Kaneki's journey reflects the often painful process of self discovery, where the boundaries between who we were and who we are becoming become increasingly blurred. This crisis of identity is one of the most relatable aspects of Tokyo Ghoul, as it portrays the confusion, fear, and pain that come with trying to understand who we are in a constantly changing world. Fact 83. The relationships in Tokyo Ghoul are marked by ambiguity and complexity, particularly when it comes to trust. Kaneki's relationship with Hyde is one of the most fascinating, as their bond is layered with both loyalty and suspicion. Hyde's true motives remain shrouded in mystery for much of the series, and his ambiguous nature keeps Kaneki and the viewers constantly questioning who they can trust. This relationship, with its shifting dynamics, mirrors the larger theme of uncertainty that runs throughout the show. Trust is never given freely in Tokyo Ghoul. It must be earned, and even then, it remains fragile. Fact 84. The character of Riz Kamishiro, though she appears early in the series, continues to haunt Kaneki long after her death. Rise is the catalyst for Kaneki's transformation, and her presence, both physical and psychological, lingers throughout the series. Though she is portrayed as a villain, Riz is not a simple monster. Her complex motivations and tragic backstory make her a deeply sympathetic character. Riz's influence on Kaneki is profound, as her actions force him to confront his darkest instincts and the part of himself he fears most, the monster lurking inside. Fact 85. The ghoul world in Tokyo Ghoul is structured by a complex hierarchy of power. Different ghoul factions, like Aogiri Tree and the V, vie for control and dominance over the city, each with their own ideologies and goals. This power struggle adds layers of political intrigue to the series, as characters must navigate allegiances and betrayals to survive. The battle for power within the ghoul community mirrors the conflicts in the human world, where those in positions of power often exploit and manipulate others to maintain their status. This dynamic highlights the corrupting nature of power, both for humans and ghouls alike. Fact 86. The series frequently blurs the line between right and wrong, forcing characters to make difficult choices that have no clear moral answers. Kaneki's transformation from a kind-hearted student into a ruthless figure of power illustrates this ambiguity. Early in the series, Kaneki is depicted as a character who values peace and seeks to avoid violence. But as he faces greater challenges, he is forced to make choices that challenge his moral beliefs. This gradual shift in his character highlights the series' exploration of how circumstances and survival can reshape our values and beliefs, often in unexpected ways. Fact 87. The Silly G's investigation into ghouls is depicted not just as an effort to maintain order, but also as a deeply personal journey for some of its members. Characters like Kisho Arima and Akira Mato are shown to struggle with their roles within the organization, torn between their duties and their personal motivations. Arima, in particular, is a character whose sense of duty is complicated by his own inner turmoil. His stoic exterior hides a deep emotional conflict, and the series gradually reveals the complexities behind his actions, adding depth to his character and blurring the lines between hero and villain. Fact 88. The theme of sacrifice is evident throughout Tokyo Ghoul, where characters frequently find themselves making difficult choices for the sake of others. Kaneki, in particular, is often put in situations where he must sacrifice his own well being, peace, or safety to protect those he cares about. This sacrifice is not always noble or romanticized. It is often painful and comes with emotional consequences. The series explores how sacrifice can shape a person, for better or worse, and the heavy toll it takes on those who are asked to give up something dear for the sake of others. Fact 89. Tokyo Ghoul also delves into the theme of belonging within the context of family. Throughout the series, Kaneki forms surrogate family units, such as his bond with Tuka and the people at Anteku. These connections become the emotional foundation of the story, as Kaneki learns that family is not just about blood, but about those who accept you, even in your darkest moments. These surrogate families give Kaneka a sense of purpose and belonging that he loses with the collapse of his human life. The importance of these bonds is a central emotional theme in the series. Fact 90. The idea of rebirth is explored in Tokyo Ghoul through Kaneki's evolution as a character. After the trauma he experiences, Kaneki is forced to shed his old self and embrace his new identity as a half ghoul. This process of rebirth is painful, as it involves not only physical change, but emotional and psychological transformation as well. Kaneki's rebirth symbolizes his ability to adapt and grow, even in the face of overwhelming adversity. This theme of rebirth echoes throughout the series, with other characters also undergoing significant personal transformations that force them to confront their true selves. Fact 91. The theme of control is deeply explored in Tokyo Ghoul, particularly in Kaneki's journey. At the beginning of the series, Kaneki struggles with the lack of control over his life, both as a human and a ghoul. His transition into a half ghoul forces him to confront the chaos of his new existence. The constant battle for control over his own body and mind becomes central to his character arc. As Kaneki faces increasingly dangerous enemies and situations, the idea of losing control, both of himself and of his surroundings, becomes a symbol of the larger existential struggle for meaning in a world that seems out of control. Fact 92. The character of Ken Kaneki is one of emotional complexity, shaped by trauma and loss. His transformation from a shy, bookish student into a figure who must endure and ultimately thrive in a world of ghouls is not just physical, but deeply emotional. Kaneki's personality is driven by empathy and a desire for peace, which makes his transformation all the more tragic. As he navigates the violent world of ghouls, Kaneki's evolution is marked by his growing understanding of what it means to protect others, even when it requires sacrificing his own happiness and humanity. Fact 93. Tokyo Ghoul frequently plays with the concept of visibility and invisibility. Ghouls, despite their fearsome nature, are often invisible to human society. This invisibility reflects the larger theme of being marginalized, of living on the fringes of society. Kaneki's transformation forces him to confront his own existence as someone who no longer fully belongs to the human world, but is also not fully accepted in the ghoul world. This dual invisibility becomes a key aspect of Kaneki's struggle as he learns to navigate both the visible world and the hidden, monstrous world of ghouls. Fact 94. The idea of sacrifice appears again in Tokyo Ghoul, but this time it takes a different form. Characters like Tuka, who initially seek revenge, come to understand that true strength lies in selflessness and the willingness to protect others. Throughout the series, we see characters constantly choosing between their personal desires and the needs of the greater good. These moments of sacrifice are often not heroic in the traditional sense, but reflect the raw, painful decisions that people in such a world must make. Tokyo Ghoul portrays sacrifice as both a burden and a necessary act of love. Fact 95. The idea of becoming is a recurring theme throughout Tokyo Ghoul. Kaneki's journey is one of self-discovery, as he is forced to shed his old identity and confront the person he is becoming. The concept of becoming something new, something greater or darker, is portrayed in multiple characters, Kaneki, Raz, and others, who must reconcile their past with their present selves. The struggle to maintain one's humanity while adapting to a new, often darker nature is one of the most powerful emotional arcs in the series. It speaks to the universal experience of personal growth and transformation. Fact 96. The conflict between humans and ghouls in Tokyo Ghoul is often portrayed as a conflict of survival. Both sides, that's despite their differences, are driven by a basic need to survive in a world that offers little compassion. The CCG, despite their mission to hunt down ghouls, are shown to be motivated by their own fears and a desire to protect human life. The ghouls, meanwhile, are driven by their hunger for sustenance and their need to carve out a place for themselves in an unforgiving world. This shared struggle for survival is what blurs the line between monsters and heroes. Fact 97. The symbolism of the Kagune is explored more deeply in Tokyo Ghoul. The Kagune, a ghoul's predatory organ, is not just a tool for violence. It represents the inner strength and emotional conflict of the ghoul. For Kaneki, his Kagune becomes a symbol of his growing acceptance of his ghoul nature. At first, he rejects it, but over time, he learns to harness it, accepting that part of himself that he once feared. This evolution of the Kagune serves as a metaphor for Kaneki's journey from self-doubt to self-empowerment. Fact 98. Tokyo Ghoul often explores the theme of truth versus perception. Many characters, including Kaneki, are forced to confront the truths about themselves that they have been hiding or avoiding. The way they perceive the world around them, whether it's the CCG's views on ghouls or Kaneki's understanding of his own nature, shapes their actions and decisions. The series challenges the viewer to question the truth of what they see, encouraging an exploration of how much of reality is shaped by one's own perception and how difficult it is to discern what is truly real. Fact 99. One of the most tragic elements of Tokyo Ghoul is its portrayal of loss. Kaneki's loss of his human life, his innocence, and his sense of peace marks the beginning of his transformation. This theme of loss is reflected in many of the characters, who are forced to give up parts of themselves in order to survive. The constant sense of loss in the series serves as a reminder of the fragility of life. In Tokyo Ghoul, survival often comes at the cost of emotional and psychological well being, making the characters' struggles all the more poignant. Fact 100. The question of what it means to be human is central to Tokyo Ghoul. Kaneki's transformation into a half ghoul forces him to examine what makes someone truly human. Is it the ability to feel compassion and love, or is it the ability to survive, even at the cost of others? Throughout the series, Kaneki and other characters grapple with this question, trying to understand where they fit in a world that refuses to accept them. The series presents the idea that humanity is not just a biological trait, but a state of mind, a willingness to embrace empathy, even in the darkest of times. Fact 101. The concept of power is explored in many different ways throughout Tokyo Ghoul. While physical strength is important, the series also delves into the psychological power that characters gain through their experiences. Kaneki's transformation is not just about acquiring physical abilities, but also about his emotional growth and the strength that comes from overcoming trauma. Throughout the series, characters are forced to confront the limits of their power, not just in battle, but in their ability to shape their own destinies. This theme highlights how power, in its truest sense, is tied to inner resilience rather than external force. Fact 102. The idea of freedom is central to the struggles of both ghouls and humans. Ghouls, often trapped by their hunger for human flesh, are bound to a life of violence and secrecy. Kaneki, especially, is caught between two worlds, one that rejects him for his ghoul nature and another that fears him for it. His journey is marked by a desire for freedom, not just physical freedom, but the freedom to live authentically, to be himself without the constraints of fear or violence. The question of what it truly means to be free is a powerful, recurring theme in the series. Fact 103. A key part of Kaneki's transformation is his growing understanding of sacrifice. The weight of his past decisions, his actions in the fight for survival, and his role in the broader conflict become more apparent as he matures. Kaneki's willingness to sacrifice parts of himself, his peace, his relationships, and even his humanity reminds viewers of the often harsh reality of making hard choices in a world where survival sometimes demands the ultimate price. His evolution into a more self-aware figure highlights the necessity of sacrifice in order to grow and become stronger. Fact 104. The moral ambiguity in Tokyo Ghoul is one of its most powerful elements. Characters like Kaneki, Tuka, and Arima are not purely good or bad, but exist in a space where their actions, while sometimes brutal, are motivated by complex personal struggles. Kaneki, in particular, is torn between his desire for peace and his growing need for vengeance. The series challenges its viewers to question traditional notions of morality, showing that good and evil are often subjective, and what matters most is the intention behind a character's choices rather than the outcome of their actions. Fact 1005: the symbolism of light and dark is prevalent throughout Tokyo Ghoul, not only in its visual style but also in its thematic content. Kaneki's journey from a naive student to a battle hardened half ghoul is a story of descending into darkness, both physically and psychologically. However, the light is never entirely absent. It appears in the moments of connection Kaneki shares with others, especially in his relationships with the people at Anteku. These fleeting moments of light represent the hope that despite the darkness of the ghoul world, there is still the potential for human connection and compassion. Fact 106: the theme of revenge plays a significant role in Kaneki's character arc. After enduring extreme pain and trauma, Kaneki's desire for revenge becomes a driving force. However, Tokyo Ghoul shows how vengeance, while initially motivating, can consume and alter a person's character. Kaneki's internal struggle with revenge highlights its corrosive nature, leading him to question whether vengeance is truly satisfying or if it perpetuates the cycle of violence. His journey reveals that revenge often brings more pain and does not lead to the healing he seeks. Fact 107: Tokyo Ghoul does not shy away from the theme of suffering, with most characters experiencing some form of deep pain, whether it's physical, emotional, or psychological. Kaneka's suffering is both external and internal, as he battles not only physical transformation, but also the emotional weight of his new identity. The series is unflinching in its portrayal of how suffering shapes the characters, and it explores how pain can both break and build a person. Through suffering, characters learn what they are truly capable of and what they are willing to sacrifice in order to survive. Fact 108: the dynamic between Kaneki and his former self plays a major role in the narrative. As Kaneki becomes more entrenched in the ghoul world, his identity begins to fracture. His human life, represented by his memories and his past self, is something he can never truly reclaim. The conflict between who he was and who he is becoming adds emotional complexity to the series. Kaneki's journey is as much about reconciling these two parts of himself as it is about surviving the external challenges posed by ghouls and humans alike. His struggle is universal, reflecting the tension between our past selves and who we become. Fact 109: the character of Yoshimura, the kind hearted ghoul who runs Anteku, embodies the theme of forgiveness and the possibility of redemption. As the leader of the Ghoul Cafe, Yoshimura seeks to create a peaceful space for ghouls, showing that not all ghouls are driven by violence. His history, filled with pain and loss, reflects the broader struggle for redemption and understanding in a world where ghouls are condemned by society. Yoshimura's role in the series challenges the notion of inherent evil, showing that even those who live in the shadows can seek peace and redemption. Fact 110: the psychological horror aspects of Tokyo Ghoul are enhanced by its portrayal of mental and emotional collapse. Kaneki's transformation is not only a physical change, but also an emotional breakdown as he grapples with his identity and the violent world around him. The series delves into the fragility of the human mind, depicting how trauma can erode a person's sense of self. This psychological horror underscores the central theme of identity, as Kaneki must face not just the physical horror of his ghoul nature, but the emotional and mental disintegration that comes with it. Fact 111: one of the most striking elements of Tokyo Ghoul is its portrayal of dual identities. Kaneki's journey is deeply intertwined with his struggle to reconcile his human side with his ghoul side. This duality is not limited to Kaneki alone. Many characters in the series, such as Tuka, Aogiri tree members, and even the CCG, experience similar conflicts. The constant tension between their public personas and their true natures is a central theme. This exploration of dual identities speaks to the broader human experience of navigating conflicting parts of ourselves and how difficult it can be to find harmony within. Fact 112. Tokyo Ghoul also touches on the theme of isolation and the feeling of being an outsider. Kaneki's transformation forces him to face the world as an outsider, caught between two societies, human and ghoul, that reject him in different ways. This sense of alienation is further amplified as Kaneki grows more powerful, making it difficult for him to relate to others. The series emphasizes how isolation, while painful, can also serve as a catalyst for personal growth, as Kaneki learns to navigate his loneliness and search for meaning in a world that seems to offer none. Fact 113. The concept of memory plays a significant role in Tokyo Ghoul, particularly in how Kaneki struggles with the memories of his former life. As he becomes more entrenched in the world of ghouls, Kaneki's memories of his human life begin to fade, adding a layer of emotional complexity to his transformation. This loss of memory symbolizes the gradual erasure of his past self as he adapts to his new identity. The fading of memories represents the painful necessity of moving forward and adapting, even when it means losing parts of oneself along the way. Fact 114. Throughout Tokyo Ghoul, the idea of rebellion is explored, especially through characters like Kaneki, who initially resists his new identity as a ghoul. Kaneki's transformation is marked by his internal rebellion, as he fights against the ghoul nature that he is forced to accept. Similarly, other characters, such as Toka, Aogiri tree members, and the CCG, engage in acts of rebellion, challenging the established order in different ways. This theme of rebellion represents the struggle for self-determination, where characters must fight not only against external forces, but also against their own internal conflicts. Fact 115. Tokyo Ghoul is a story deeply rooted in the theme of survival. For ghouls, survival means feeding on humans, hiding in the shadows, and constantly being hunted. For humans, survival means battling the ghoul threat and living in fear of the unknown. Kaneki, as a half-ghoul, experiences the struggle for survival in both worlds. His journey is a poignant reflection on the lengths one must go to survive, both physically and emotionally. It challenges the idea of survival as just the act of staying alive, suggesting that survival without purpose or identity is hollow and ultimately unfulfilling. Fact 116. The relationship between Kaneki and Tuka is a central emotional arc in Tokyo Ghoul. Initially, Toka appears to be a cold, ruthless character, but as the series progresses, her deeper motivations and vulnerabilities are revealed. She shares Kaneki's internal struggle, torn between her desire for revenge and her yearning for a better future. Their bond is one of mutual understanding and support, as both characters seek to reconcile their violent pasts with their hopes for the future. Their relationship exemplifies the theme of finding connection and healing in a world torn apart by violence and fear. Fact 117. The symbolism of light and dark is woven throughout the narrative, representing not only the physical world, but also the emotional and psychological states of the characters. The contrasts between the light of hope and the darkness of despair are reflected in the characters' personal journeys. Kaneki's shift from innocence to darkness is symbolized through the various settings he inhabits, moving from the warmth of Anteku to the cold, brutal environments where he faces life or death struggles. This use of light and dark imagery highlights the internal battles that each character faces, constantly shifting between hope and despair. Fact 118. Another powerful theme in Tokyo Ghoul is self destruction. Many characters, especially Kaneki, engage in actions that seem to undermine their own well being. Kaneki's initial reluctance to embrace his ghoul side leads to periods of deep self loathing, and his tortured journey is marked by self destructive tendencies. The series explores how personal trauma and the desire for revenge can drive individuals to harm themselves emotionally, mentally, or physically. These self destructive behaviors reflect the internal conflicts that characters face and the heavy cost of living in a world where survival often means sacrificing a part of oneself. Fact 119. The theme of redemption runs throughout Tokyo Ghoul, as many characters seek to atone for their past actions or find a sense of peace in the chaos of their lives. Kaneki, in particular, struggles with the notion of redemption after the violence he has experienced and committed. His path to redemption is not linear, it is fraught with doubt, pain, and sacrifices. The series suggests that redemption is not an easy or clear path, but it is something that requires confronting the darkest parts of oneself and making the difficult choice to change and move forward. Fact 120. In the end, Tokyo Ghoul asks its viewers to reflect on the nature of humanity and monstrosity. Kaneki's journey is one of becoming, not just as a ghoul, but as a person who must reconcile the many parts of himself. The series explores whether it is possible to remain human in a world that forces you to become something else. It challenges the idea of what makes a person truly human. Is it their capacity for love, for violence, for survival? Tokyo Ghoul presents no clear answers, but instead leaves us with the haunting question of whether we can ever truly escape the monsters inside us. Thank you for journeying with me through the haunting and complex world of Tokyo Ghoul. As we've discovered together, the lines between human and monster, light and dark, are often blurred. Kaneki's journey, filled with pain, sacrifice, and self discovery, reminds us all of the delicate balance between survival and humanity. May the struggles, triumphs, and transformations of these characters continue to resonate with you long after the last word. Now, as the story draws to a close, take a deep breath and let your mind rest. May your dreams be filled with peace, and may you find the strength to embrace both the light and dark within you. Good night.